So don't take that.
We won't take up.
Yes, let's be the
Pods.
in Springfield.
Episode 22 of Pads
In the key?
of Spring.
Nick, what are you doing? What is this accent?
Unsure. Should I take it again without the weird accent?
I think maybe.
Episode. Oh, hang on. I'll give us a run up. Episode 22 of Pods
In the
Key
of Spring
Field.
Pods in the Key of Springfield. The very podcast you are listening to.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know what? They say with podcasts that every episode might be someone's first. So if this is your first, hello.
Yeah, hi. Why didn't you listen to the other ones? Were you too good for us?
I think you're coming a bit hard off the bat for the newbies.
No. Look, if you haven't listened to the other episodes, we don't even want you here. You should... Actually, I shouldn't even say that. Look, we love you from the bottom of our hearts.
I wouldn't go that.
Downloading even one episode.
I wouldn't go that far either.
You are our children, our dear children, and we will carry you in our hearts until the day that we die.
Today we look at Season 3, Episode 3, When Flanders Failed. And we look at Season 3, Episode 4, Bart, the Moiderer.
Yep. Bert the murderer.
Bert the Murderer.
Yes, so...
No hitting by a Kurt in this, though.
No.
No.
It's hit by no Kurtz. Flanders did fail, though.
Yes.
That is documented fact.
When
season 3 of The Simpsons.
When Flanders failed, chalkboard gag. Nobody likes sunburn slappers.
Yeah, nobody likes Sunburn Slappers. Who is Sunburn Slappers?
I don't know. I assume it was like a vaudeville comedian.
Vaudeville comedian. I was thinking maybe some sort of puppet.
Oh, a vaudeville puppet.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
vaudeville puppet.
One of those vaudeville puppets.
Constantly tumbling over in his little wooden frame.
And it would be in one of those like Punch and Judy style puppetry boxes at the beach where everyone's sunburned. And then he doesn't slap your sunburn. He just slaps you in the face.
Ooh.
Regardless of where your sunburn is.
Oh, I'm into that. Where can we see this show?
I believe they're doing a run at the Adelaide Fringe in March.
Okay, you know what? That doesn't even sound unlikely.
I know, right?
That there would just be a puppet that slaps you in the face. Be like, hey, did you go and see that show where the puppet just slaps you in the face? It's really confronting.
Should we do a Punch and Judy show? Sorry, so should we do a show in the Fringe? We'll call it a Punch and Judy show, and then when you get there, we just give you an alcoholic drink with fruit in it and play the films of Judi Dench.
We'll call it Punch in the Key of Springfield.
Punch in the Key of Springfield.
Yeah, where we do the podcast and we hand out punch.
Can we still watch Judi Dench movies?
Yeah, of course.
Alright, sweet.
Does Judi Dench ever appear on The Simpsons? I know there's a joke about her in like season 48, but that's Are you about to Google
Yep.
on the computer we're recording onto?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay. This seems like a fool's errand. So Nick,
Yeah.
this episode opens with Homer mowing the lawn.
Yes.
I was just wondering, do you have any stories about mowing the lawn?
If you want to hear stories about me mowing the lawn, go to episode, I think, 11 of Pods in the Key of Springfield.
And if you don't want to hear any stories about Nick mowing the lawn, go and listen to it anyway, because only about 10% of it is about that. Yeah, there's an episode, we've got it up on the screen right now.
There's a restaurant called Judi Dench's Fish and Chips.
Judi Dench's Fish and Chips is a restaurant chain that sells fish and chips and is located in London. Judi Dench's Fish and Chips has been the dine-in drive-through set. This can't possibly be funny. Whatever it is we're looking at right now. Oh, this is from the Regina monologues.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay.
Well, she does appear in... Judi Dench does appear in The Simpsons.
Okay.
Mission accomplished.
I don't think it's actually Judi Dench, though. I think they just joke about Judi Dench.
I'm Judi Dench. Not a lot of people know that.
Fuck. So, I had a bit of a weird moment early in this episode. Ned invites Homer to a barbecue. By the way, this is the episode with the leftorium. Flanders has a leftorium.
And a B plot that we'd both completely forgotten about, where Bart learns karate.
Yep.
Or doesn't learn karate, but puts up the facade of learning karate.
Which was great.
A karate facade.
Now, Ned tells Homer to strap on the feed bag for this barbecue.
Sure.
And that hit me in a weird way, because the last time I heard that term used, it was in reference to going down on a woman. And now it's just associated.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is that the writers doing Ned mistakenly appropriating sexual terminology?
I don't know if it's a common terminology.
Right.
I don't know if it's something you should be saying necessarily.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm thinking it was in a sitcom. It was
I thought this
used
was
by the woman, like strap on the feed bag.
I thought this was a dalliance that you had with someone who perhaps owned horses.
Well, I'm just sitting here and I just spent about 2.5 seconds thinking which paths could I possibly take that down.
I would advise going down none of them.
Yeah, just every one of them ended with a big danger, do not enter sign. So,
Yeah. Which is a really weird thing for them to put there.
yeah.
I don't want that joke in the podcast.
It's going in now, baby.
Damn it. Anyway.
Flanders, there's a thing early on where Marge says that they shouldn't be angry at Flanders just because he has things a little better than them.
Sure.
And this is a very early 90s thing. Like, right now, you can't really make jokes about The Simpsons not being affluent. I think
Oh, yeah.
there's a certain point of the show where they had to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Because The Simpsons are very well off.
Yeah.
They seem to live quite comfortably in a giant house.
Yep.
They've got 3 kids. There seems to be no real, apart from the first episode,
Yep.
no real worries about money. They're not.
No. There are apparently entire months where Homer can risk losing his job because he's off doing other things.
Yep.
I just slid my foot across the floor under the table and I heard it come through in my headphones. I'm concerned by this microphone. Anyway.
It's alright. I just have to, not fidget.
I can't not fidget.
You've got all those fidget spinners as well, and you keep dabbing.
I ate so many Twix before we started.
You only ate 1 Twix.
Is a Twix? Is a single Twix 2 bars?
I think so.
Right.
I think you can eat half a Twix.
In which case you would eat 1 bar.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know at what point it ticks over into a second Twix.
But
If
see-
you eat 1.5 Twix.
But see, a fun-sized Twix is a single bar that's smaller.
Yep.
So that should be a fun-sized half Twix in your terminology.
I think a Twix is more of a philosophical concept than it is.
A Twix is a state of mind.
Yeah, I don't think there's a measurement. It's if you eat a small Snickers, you eat a medium Snickers, you eat a large Snickers, they're all Snickers. It's just whatever's in the packet, man.
Yeah, but we're not talking about whether a Snickers is 1 Snickers or 2 Snickers. I think that's a false equivalency that you've drawn there.
If you get a Scotch finger and you snap it in half, are you eating 2 Scotch fingers, or are you eating a Scotch finger?
I think if you snap a Scotch finger in half and then only eat half of it, I think you're eating half a Scotch finger.
Okay, so...
But it starts as a whole and you're dividing it in 2.
But it's designed with the perforation.
Oh, well then, does that mean 1 salada is in fact 4 saladas?
No, I think 1 salada is 1 salada that can easily be split into quarters.
Oh.
I think a Twix is a single candy bar that is served pre-split.
That's an interesting way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in to Pods in the Case.
In Springfield.
So, Homer is sitting on his couch at home, and he imagines this scenario where because his family isn't there and they don't feed him, he starves to death.
Yes.
And then laughs at them from beyond the grave.
Yes.
I feel like I've had thoughts like this as a child all the time.
Actually, yeah, interesting.
There's a lot of things in this episode that resonated with me uncomfortably, actually. Just I've felt that way. That's inappropriate. That's not a good way to feel.
You've had that monologue about they'll all be sorry. That kind of thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's
actually a video of me when I was 6, running around a birthday party, my own birthday party, I think, running after my cousin Dan, yelling, "You'll be sorry! You'll be sorry!" That video exists.
That's grim.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, I saw that video
was
like
there
a few years ago. I'm like, oh, that's not good.
Is there a context to that?
It's just a weird kid.
You're just a little devil child.
Just a weird, shitty little kid.
Weird, shitty little kid. The thing I like, just after he does that soliloquy, he then drifts off to sleep. Ned starts cooking the barbecue, and Homer's made a big deal about how he's not going to go to Ned's barbecue.
Yep.
And then it's the smell of the barbecue food that wakes him up, and he's enticed to the window, and he's very jealous about the barbecue food. Now, I know that Homer's intelligence level varies in various episodes depending on how they need to play him, but did he really not click onto the fact that there will be barbecue food at a barbecue and that he likes barbecue food?
I think he must have disassociated between his hatred of Ned Flanders and his love for grilled meats.
Interesting.
Just like, you had that barbecue here the other day, and I refused to come until from my own house I could smell the cooking meats.
I was about to say bullshit. You literally were here.
Yeah.
But I saw where you were going with that.
Yeah.
Yes. No, interesting point. I didn't actually put two and two together on the timing, but you're right. Good thing I've got that pipe that goes directly from my house to yours.
Yeah, I was wary when you built that pipe. I mean, it's more like a tube that you shoot messages to me.
I didn't realize we were both
pneumatic tube.
I didn't realize we were both checkout chicks. Don't they use those to transport notes and money?
Pneumatic tubes?
Yeah.
Checkout chicks?
Is that a very outdated... I thought checkouts had pneumatic tubes.
I think everything about this is... Like, the term checkout chick is maybe outdated.
Oh, yeah.
The concept of messaging each other through tubes. In the year 2000, and by the time people listen, 2018.
I'm just going to message a friend of mine that used to work at a supermarket. I want to know if Foodland Pasadena had pneumatic tubes.
All right, sure, do that. Message a friend. We'll get some inside goss on the Foodland at Pasadena. Okay, what else happens in this episode? A lot happens in this episode. Nick.
Yes.
This episode is about Ned Flanders opening the Leftorium, which caters to left-handed people. Now, not a lot of people know this, but you, Nick, yourself, are left-handed.
I am indeed left-handed. And you know how there's that terrible joke going around about, how can you tell if someone's a vegan? Oh, don't worry, they'll tell you. It's the opposite for being left-handed, because whenever I do anything, the first thing people will... Well, no, the first thing is normally, hello, how are you? But following that, they go, oh, left-handed. And it really irritates me. I'm 31. I don't want to have to go, yep, definitely am, every time someone sees me do something. Or the number of times, I'll be doing something, someone will see me write, someone I've known for years will see me writing a note, and then they go, I never knew you were left-handed. As if there's a reporting obligation on me that I'm supposed to go around telling everyone.
Yeah, it's not like being a sex offender. You don't need to go door to door, knock with your left hand and tell them.
We are similarly sinister, though.
Yes, according to this episode, what was the sinister? It was like the
sinister
Latin...
is the Latin for left-handed.
Okay.
And dexterous is Latin for right-handed.
Wow, shit.
Which weird. The interesting thing about that is, if you are ambidextrous, it means that you are both sides right-handed.
Fuck, man. That's, I mean, no wonder left-handed people were historically genuinely looked down upon and treated poorly throughout history with this fucking language distinction.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's also why the right-hand man of God is the most important man. And I think the left has something to do with the devil because of the sinister thing. It's a bit tedious.
Yeah.
There's nothing particularly evil about me.
Has anyone, people point out your left hand, did you ever just respond, oh my god, you're right, what the fuck, I never noticed?
I haven't, but I've always wanted to. And then the funny part is, if it was sports lesson at school, and then we're doing, all right, this is how to hold a cricket bat. I just know to reverse whatever instructions they're telling me because I'm left-handed. And the number of times that you get 2/3 of the way through a lesson and one of the teachers will be like, Nick, what are you doing? Oh, I'm left-handed. Oh, okay, yeah, so just reverse everything I've said. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, nice.
I'm clearly
nice
already
save.
doing that.
Like, nice way to try and dig yourself out of a hole where you clearly hadn't clicked that I'm left-handed.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Bach.
Despite there being a line of 30 children and only one of them, me, is facing the opposite way to everyone else. Oh, God. Speaking of that, Ned says that 1 in every 5 Americans is left-handed. It's interesting. I don't know if that is the worldwide population or if it's just American.
No, they didn't have Wikipedia back then. All they had was the Simpsons Internet Archive or whatever it was called, so they could only go and, see if the internet had corrected them on the statistics, I suppose.
Sure.
So the question I want to ask you about being left-handed, Nick.
Sure.
If a store like the Leftorium existed, would it actually be useful to you?
There are some things that it would be. Like,
Left-handed nunchucks, for instance?
I'm not going to do the accent.
Please don't.
I bailed out of that in a hurry.
Yeah, you inhaled, realised your mistake,
Yep.
exhaled.
No, there are something like I remember the first time I used left-handed scissors. And now scissors are something that most right-handed people, check your privilege, right-handed people, most right-handed people probably wouldn't click that scissors are actually, they tend to be quite dexterous. Obviously, the shitty ones you get at school, the ones that just have the 2 circles that sit side by side, they're not particularly dexterous. But if you get like a pair of kitchen scissors, those, slightly chunky ones with the more molded kind of handles.
Slight chunk, yep.
Yeah, slight chunk. They are surprisingly dexterous. And the first time I used left-handed scissors, I was like, oh my God.
You got the glide going?
I got the glide going, and it also, they weren't uncomfortable. Previously, scissors had always been uncomfortable on my knuckles. So I'd probably buy some scissors. And then most other things in the Leftorium, not 100% sure that they're necessary. Left-handed shot glass, don't know.
Yeah? You wouldn't buy that Kiss Me I'm Left-Handed shirt?
No, I wouldn't, because I've already got 7 of them.
Yeah. Has that ever picked up, that shirt?
No.
Bro?
No.
You never go out and say, look at my shirt. Now you have to kiss me. It's the law.
Nope.
Don't ever say that, Nick. It's awful that you're even thinking it.
Remember earlier when we said that left-handed people and sex offenders weren't the same?
Yeah, that's right.
That t-shirt might start to blur the lines.
Okay. Well, let's not go any further down that road then. At the party, Homer wishes...
Oh, the party!
Fuck. That's a reference we're a while away from getting into. Homer...
Oh, sorry. What if I did... Party.
Good.
I'm just going to fall down a rabbit hole of stupid references.
Very specific quotes.
Very specific quotes.
So Homer wishes on a chicken wishbone.
Yep. Have you ever done that?
Probably as a child. I don't know. I don't feel like bone cracking was ever a part of the... It would be like, you have like a Christmas cracker and you crack the cracker.
Sure.
And you make the wish on the cracker.
On the cracker, not on the bone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't literally snap the bones of an animal.
No.
But, yeah, he wishes that Flanders... First he wishes Flanders is just doing poorly, then he wishes his store closes.
Interestingly,
Yep.
Homer envisages perfectly what the Leftorium looks like, despite
Yeah.
Ned only having just announced it. Homer might be prescient like Phoebe from Charmed.
Like Phoebe from Charmed.
Yeah. I think that's the 4th time I've referenced Phoebe from Charmed.
Yeah, you're making a lot of Charmed references.
And 4th reference across 2 podcasts, I reckon. Hello, Elliot J. O'Neill, if you're listening.
Yeah, that's something. And then he imagines Ned's grave. He imagines the death of Ned.
Little Ted Ned.
And then he thinks, not too far. Takes it back. Big fan of that joke.
Good joke.
I feel like that's also how my mind operates. I think of how I would like things to pan out, then I take it slightly too far, have to pull back.
Yep, like just earlier when you said nunchucks and I breathed in, went to do the accent and then went, oh no, too far, pull it back.
And then Homer starts laughing, thinking about Ned failing. And he starts to choke on his food, and he turns red, and he turns purple, and the screen fades to black.
Yes.
And Nick, I'm gonna put it out here.
Ooh.
I think it's possible that in this moment...
What do you think's possible?
I think maybe Homer chokes to death. and the rest of the series.
Yeah.
I know this is a little wild, a little out there. I've got a pretty short memory, but I'm pretty sure I haven't posited this theory before, but I think the rest of the series might be a death dream.
A death dream?
A death dream.
A death dream?
Yeah.
Munchies.
Exactly.
Right.
The other possibility is that he recovers and the show just keeps happening.
Well, see, I thought we heard the sound of Flanders giving a presumably left-handed Heimlich maneuver.
How is the left-handed Heimlich different?
It depends which arm you wrap around the waist and which arm you pump with.
Okay.
Pump it,
See.
Heimlich. Pump it, Heimlich.
That was good.
One of the more ridiculous jokes I've made.
I gotta know, when he started saying pump it, did you know that Heimlich rhymed and you could do it? Or did you go in not really knowing what you were going to do there?
I got halfway through Pump It and decided, Heimlich's going to work.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I really struck out lucky on that one.
I'd like to talk about the B plot.
Hang on, just before that, because there's something I want to say about the turning red, then turning purple, then fading
Okay,
black.
Yep.
Is, and actually we see this again in the next episode where Bart is a moiterer. That is a really, really good spot for a first ad break.
It is.
And something you don't get when watching on the DVD. I mean, yes, it's still face to black and we have that moment, but, it used to be kind of fun to have those cliffhanger moments where you then get 3 minutes of ads for soap and whatever
Butterfinger,
else.
yeah.
But yeah, and then,
Hey, Homer, give me back my Butterfinger. It's mine.
And then it reached a point when, in the...
I'm going to eat your Butterfinger, buddy boy.
In late 90s, early 2000s, when it was on Channel 10, and they just started really taking the piss with the ad breaks, and they would cut to an ad break before the punchline of the joke, and, that kind of ruined it. But
quite often they would use the ad break to sort of censor a joke they didn't want in the episode anymore.
Yeah. But that's a really good ad break spot, I think. Homer turning red, Homer turning purple, sound of a left-handed Heimlich, pump it Heimlich.
Yep.
Ad break.
1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, purple fish, death dream.
Oh, we're going back to the season 2 top 5.
Sure, why not?
Sure.
So I'm going to talk about the B plot.
Yeah, okay.
Where Bart learns karate B in the B plot. So Bart, little Barty boy, he's going to learn some karate.
Sure.
And he doesn't learn karate. Instead, he plays Touch of Death at the arcade. Now, as you know, my job is video game journalism.
Yes.
I would like to try to do a bit of analysis, maybe a bit of a review of Touch of Death. Are you up for that?
Yes, I'm into it. Do I need to lead you into any questions, or can I just sit here and listen?
Oh, if you've got some questions, I would love to answer them.
Okay.
As the premier game journalist on this panel.
On this podcast?
Yep.
What is video game?
Okay, first thing that we have to say is that it's not my place to say whether or not video games broadly, and more specifically Touch of Death, is art. All right, I'm not here to answer that question.
Okay.
I think we need to look at, the cultural milieu and where video games sit within society.
Right.
We need to think about, what they mean to people and, the impact video games have. It's not for me to say whether video game is art.
Right.
All right, that's not my place, and I'm sick of people asking about it, frankly.
Is video game Roger Ebert?
Is video game Roger? That's a really good question. See, Roger Ebert, one of the premier film critics of our time, of course. Now, one of the things that he said that I really like, one thing that I really agree with that he said is that films are empathy machines. All right, we watch films and we empathize with what's happening on screen, and they tell us something about our lives and they tell us about the world around us. All right, they're empathy machines, and that was something that really stuck with me. Roger Ebert also said the video game is bad. He didn't like video game, and to me that was bad that he said that.
Interesting,
but also good because video game is bad. Is
right.
Bad? Yeah, video game is very bad.
Okay, Touch of Death, video game, yes, no.
Okay, Touch of Death. Very good question, by the way. Really good. Touch of Death, very interesting game. Sort of shades of like Guilty Gear there, or maybe like a Bushido Blade, Dive Kick, that sort of fighting game. Because it seems like the central mechanic of this game is the one-touch kill of the Touch of Death.
Right.
Because Bart's aim in this game is to activate the Touch of Death. Right. And if games tell us something about ourselves, then isn't Touch of Death really a game about trying to shirk responsibilities and trying to, get out of the hard work of life? Isn't it really about, what if we could just bypass everything and just, with one touch, just sort everything out? We could get rid of our enemies. We could put them down. It's also this sort of hyper-realism that we don't often get in games, even though obviously it is like a high fantasy, We got like, these games where, usually if you punch someone really hard, it fucking hurts. It hurts them a lot. They collapse to the ground. They're done, You don't keep fighting.
No.
You hit someone with a sword, you cut their arm off. They're dead, man. They're fucking dead,
Yeah.
Video games are bad.
Okay.
Touch of Death seems pretty good, though. I would give it a 7 out of 10.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So if I can just cycle back to a point you made in that answer.
Yep.
So there was something you said in there about how we're all looking for the one touch, the touch of death, the one action that can cure everything.
Yes.
Is that what Adam Sandler's Click is all about?
Okay. See, Adam Sandler would later work with Tom McCarthy on the movie The Cobbler, and in the movie The Cobbler, Adam Sandler plays a cobbler. He cobbles shoes.
Right.
He doesn't need a peach cobbler, just to be clear, because I
Okay.
know a lot of people think that movie is about peach cobbler, but it's not. It's about shoemaking. Shoe repair. So he makes the shoes, he puts them on, and then he becomes the person who owned the shoes. And isn't that really... the touch of death really is about looking into somebody's eyes and knowing who they are in their final moments. And Adam Sandler's Click stars, what's his face, that guy from Baywatch?
David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, the Huff. And you don't hassle the Huff.
Oh, God.
You don't, he's somebody who I think would be able to resist the touch of death.
So, interesting spin-off on the cobbler. So the idea of absorbing the spirit of someone's shoe when you fix it or wear it or whatever he was doing.
Yep.
When I was a kid, I always thought the phrase... there's that phrase, walk a mile in someone else's shoes.
Yep, 1, 2, buckle my shoe, then walk a mile in it, yes.
Sure. And it's I understand it now to be, well, until you've lived my experience, you can't really judge my story, so just back off, buddy.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I was like, yeah, that'd really suck walking in someone else's shoes. What if they're the wrong size? That'd hurt.
The really crazy thing about the fucking cobbler
Yeah.
is that the basic concept of this film is he wears other people's shoes and he, can live their life. And you think, oh yeah, there's that saying, walk a mile in another person's shoes, get to know them. I guess the film would be about that. But it's fucking not. It's about something else entirely.
Oh, that's weird.
It turns into this, mob drama comedy. It's really fucking weird.
Huh.
But look, it's not my place to say whether the cobbler is art or not, and I want to be very clear on that.
Okay, so Touch of Death, final word?
Final word, in terms of graphics, I would have to give it a 6 out of 10. Sound, 7 out of 10. Gameplay looked like about an 8. Longevity, I'm not convinced on because one touch, they're dead. Gonna give it a 5. Overall, I'm giving it a 7, which is not necessarily an average or a weighted score, just the score that I think is appropriate for the overall product.
Okay, sure.
So that's my review of Touch of Death.
If we review any more video games,
Yes.
can we go back to the Eat My Shorts 3 voice and do our brandy-soaked scholars?
I mean...
Because there were a couple of sentences in there where you were like, the one touch is to shirk the responsibility of the... It'd go really well.
Look, that entire episode is a blur to me. I feel like we just dropped into a fugue stage.
I mean, most of the things that you've said in the last 7 minutes have been a blur to me. You were talking very fast.
Yeah.
I was really impressed.
So, the touch of death...
Stop whacking the desk.
I know. Bart learns the touch of death, and he becomes the ultimate killing machine.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Interesting to give Bart that power.
It's interesting. It's interesting that he turned into a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Spider-Man said, with great power comes great responsibility, Bart. And he has the touch of death. And it's an interesting dynamic for the show.
Did,
he
did
doesn't...
Spider-Man say that to Bart?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure.
Fair enough.
I'm looking at my notes and realizing that there are things to say about this episode.
Yeah, that's fine.
At one point...
I'll just step out of the way and let you say them.
At one point, Lisa uses the word schadenfreude in
Yes.
this episode.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was thinking, is this episode the reason everyone knows what schadenfreude is?
I suspect it is for a generation, specifically ours. It's definitely where I know the word from. I think that there may be some people in a more recent generation who have picked it up from Avenue Q, because there's that big It's Schadenfreude. People taking pleasure in your pain. That song.
Okay.
Sung by the Big Puppets in Avenue Q.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
Well, you don't know Avenue Q?
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Avenue Q is the Broadway musical with the live action puppets.
I have not heard of this.
It wasn't Sunburn Slapper, different show.
It's not Hamilton, is it?
No, it's not Hamilton. No, it's about probably, okay, we're in 2017. It's about
Just scan my mind, by the way.
10 years old now,
Yeah.
I reckon.
I just scanned my mind for like 10 seconds thinking, do I know any songs from Hamilton well enough to sing them? No, okay.
Nope.
So 10 years ago, Avenue Q.
Avenue Q.
Bunch of puppets dancing around.
Bunch of puppets, but it deals with like some relatively adult kind of themes. It's got a song about Schadenfreude. It's got a song called Everyone's Probably a Little Bit Racist.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing. I've seen an amateur production of it at the Shedley Theatre in Elizabeth North.
Would you say it's art?
I don't think it's really my place to get into that debate.
Okay,
I mean,
good.
people need to stop asking me that question.
Okay,
frankly.
I'm really glad to hear that. Because...
But they do have a song about Schadenfreude, and
Okay.
But I think for our generation, for the yous and me's of the world, this episode of The Simpsons is definitely where I know it from.
So, what else happens in this episode? Flanders starts to fail,
Yes.
and Homer keeps having instances where he can tell people about the store and chooses not to. Mm-hmm. Two things.
Sure.
One, you seem to get quite upset during this episode. It
Yep.
was really starting to get to you.
Yep.
So we'll unpack that in a moment. But
Yes.
first of all, is Flanders' problem just that he is very bad at advertising?
Very bad. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because there's no word of mouth about this store at all. In the end, Homer has somehow encountered dozens of people who will benefit from this information, none of whom knew anything about this store and what seems to be the one major mall in Springfield opening.
And Homer manages to, with a couple of phone calls, generate an entire town's worth of excitement. And the thing I found interesting is that Ned had earlier said, and so had I, that it's 1 in 5 people in America who are left-handed. Well, Springfield must be a statistical anomaly then, because there were so many people from the town of Springfield, much more than 20% of them, who were there and who were stoked and who were excited.
Well, it seems to me like a simple letterbox drop would have solved all of his problems.
What, dropping letterboxes?
Yeah, just dropping left-handed letterboxes
Left-handed letterboxes.
at homes and saying, we got more of this at the leftorium.
Seems like a really expensive exercise.
Yeah,
You gotta buy all the letterboxes?
I mean, he could put the pamphlets in the existing letterboxes, but the problem with that is putting pamphlets into letterboxes is like the one thing you can't do left-handed.
Yeah, no, I got more upset. So when I was a kid, Flanders fails, and who cares? Because you're always on the Simpsons side when you're a kid, because they're the ones that you're tuning in for. But Ned is really, really fucked.
Yeah.
His house has been repossessed. He's already sold everything. He's about to get his business repossessed. He gambled all of his of financial stability on this business. And, the family's living in the car, and then they've got to move house and go live with his sister. I feel
Capital City.
In Capital City. I feel really, really
it's
sad.
the kind of place that makes a bum feel like a king. Makes a king feel like some sort of nutty cuckoo super king.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Do you ever see that episode Dancing Homer? I don't think anyone has.
Well, the thing is, we watched it, but my DVD skipped through that song. We did not see that song in this watch.
Hey, it's Tony Bennett. My margin's getting worse and worse.
No, it's wonderful.
But on your point,
yes,
the interesting thing is these early seasons, and this is something I think people lose track of sometimes when they're talking about The Simpsons. In the early seasons, Flanders, he is religious, but he's not the god-bothery guy he turns into later. He's just like, religion is part of who he is, but he's also just a genuine good dude. And part of the reason Homer is angry at him is because he's resentful of his success and his happy family and just the fact that he seems to be living a good, happy life. He feels resentment for the success of Flanders, which is distressingly relatable, I think.
Yeah.
Especially in the modern day when you have social media, which creates this issue where we are constantly exposed to other people's successes and we start to feel like our own lives don't match up.
Sure.
And this is the problem Homer's living. at all times with Flanders next door, and that's why he hates Flanders so much.
Interesting.
But Flanders is actually a good dude.
So are you saying Flanders is like the 90s version of Pinterest?
I don't know if I don't... What is Pinterest exactly?
Don't know, but I got a response from my friend.
Oh, about the Foodland.
So hang on, I'll read out my message.
Okay.
And then I'll read out her response, because I enjoyed it. Hey, this is an odd question, but did Foodland have those, like, tubes which deliver messages and stuff
Nick,
with vacuums?
how many of the messages you send start with, hey, this is kind of an odd question, but...
A surprisingly large amount. And my good
Surprisingly
friend...
large number, I think you'll find. I'm sorry, I had to.
Man, if I could get that wrong less times, I'd have fewer errors.
You piece of shit.
Anyway, my good friend Cassie responded with, yeah, we called them pods.
Oh, shit.
Told you the tubes existed.
Well, that's the end of podcasting.
Tubes. 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 Tubes.
Why did you say tubes instead of pods?
Oh. Pods. 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 In the key of Foodland. Also, this episode is where I picked up Huzzah for the Shopkeep.
Huzzah! Yeah, this is a, I don't know if we actually said this, but this is a really good episode.
Oh, it's a belter. It's an absolute cracker.
You know what else is a really good episode?
One more final thing to say about this. So at the final scene is Todd playing guitar and everyone else sings along.
Yeah.
Todd's playing a left-handed guitar. Bart's left-handed. Every time Bart plays guitar, he's holding it left-handed style.
That's interesting.
And then there's a scene where, you know, when Otto's living in the basement or the garage or whatever, he takes the guitar off Bart, flips it from left-handed to right-handed, plays it, and then hands it back. So
Oh, that's very specific.
it's not a mistake. Bart's left-handed.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's a nice catch.
Yep, speaking of Bart, not only is he left-handed, he's also sinister in that he murders people.
Bum, bum, bum.
Season 3, Episode 4, Bart, the Murderer.
Bart, the Moiterer.
Murderer.
So this episode opens with Bart opening the kitchen cabinet, and inside is a box of Kelp Chex cereal.
Kelp Chex made of kelp. I feel like these days they would be kale Chex.
Sure.
And did you see the cereal that was 2 boxes over from Kelp Chex?
I
It
did
was
not.
a cereal called Vitapillars,
Vitapillars.
and it had a little cartoon caterpillar on it.
This episode fucking rules immediately.
It is a wonderful episode.
Just they shove in 2 very weird cereal gags.
And because it starts with... Oh, hang on, sorry. Chalkboard. I almost said chexboard. Chalkboard. High explosives in school don't mix. I say that's a lie. And then it starts with Bart very happy when he wakes up, and then immediately gets out of bed and squelches his foot on a little, what looks like a little toy
plastic dinosaur. Yeah.
A little spiky little dinosaur.
Yep.
Squelches his foot. Very visceral noise.
Yes, prompted what must be by now a 6th or 7th use of the word visceral to describe a sound effect.
Visceral.
Yeah. So, yeah, this my first note on this, which I sort of wrote towards the end, but I put it up top because I wanted to mention up top, is that
Curious.
this episode is really wonderfully animated and directed. This feels so much more directed than just about any episode we've seen so far. It has so many moments where I'm like, that is a really nice shot.
Good shots.
There's a scene early on where Bart is looking into the box of cereal, and the camera, I'm doing quote marks, people can't see it's a podcast, but the camera's sort of shaking back and forth as he searches through the box of cereal for the glow-in-the-dark police badge.
Yep.
Which is a really weird thing, by the way, for Bart to want so badly.
That's a good point. Is it because he... So Bart's quite anti-authority.
Yeah.
But do you think that...
His general attitude is, fuck the police.
Yeah, but do you think his anti-authoritarianism is born from well, at least one side effect of it is a desire for authority. And he thinks if I get that glow-in-the-dark police badge, then I'll be the one upholding the glow-in-the-dark laws.
Well, well, I don't know. Maybe he sees his wearing of a police badge as an act of grim satire.
Interesting. Interesting. And then
especially as he becomes a member of the mafia in this episode.
And then he's like,
the glow-in-the-dark mafia.
I'm going to wear this and I'm going to take down the glow-in-the-dark police force from the glow-in-the-dark inside. And what am I going to use to light my way through the grim, seamy underworld? Glow-in-the-dark. Bit of radium.
Yeah. But they'd be able to pick him because every time the lights go out, they'd be able to say, he's the rat, he's wearing the glow-in-the-dark. He's from the glow-in-the-dark mafia. Where is this coming from?
I just wanted to point out for any listeners at home that may have been disappointed, I was this close to busting out into fives when the lights go out, but couldn't think of a second line to make fit.
Oh, baby, when the lights go out, to me. I don't know how that song goes.
When the lights go out, little ratty, but we'll join the mob. And Homer still a slob. When the lights
You've done the thing the Simpsons keeps doing. You just made it about Homer at the end.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I've done the Simpsons pivot.
Oh.
Yep.
So a lot of bad stuff happens to Bart. He gets rained on. He gets hit by a bus. He falls under a train. He falls in love, which is kind of the same.
He sunk out at sea, crashed his car, gone insane.
Felt really good though, so he does it again.
He does it again.
Yeah. I think about that song sometimes, like the first time you ever hear that song, it's like, I walked under a bus. Oh no, I got hit by a train. Fuck. Oh shit, I've fallen in love. Well, finally some good news, which is kind of the same. Oh fuck.
Someone help this poor bachelor girl. Oh, I'm sure Bachelor Girl are pleased for the shout out. I suspect they haven't got much traction recently.
You talking about Sophie Monk?
No. Oh, I see what you did there. No. It's good.
Yeah. To our, 51% American audience at this point, Sophie Monk was the latest contestant on the Australian version of The Bachelorette.
Sophie Monk has a profile in America.
Does she?
She was.
I don't know if the Australian version of The Bachelorette does though.
No. Okay, that's true. Sophie Monk was in the video for Blink-182 Always.
I think she was also in not another teen movie.
Yeah, and some other movie maybe. Yeah. So bad things happen to Bart. He's late for school because he missed the bus. Wonderful moment where Krabappel says, you need to fill out a tardy slip, and Bart goes, but I'm only, looks at the clock, 5, 10, 40 minutes late. That's quite late.
That's pretty damn late.
It's pretty damn late.
Which is really nice as just a moment of observation.
Yeah, really good.
This episode has a lot of nice little moments of, observed behaviour, I would say. One thing that I do think is weird, though, that I've never really thought about until this, this watching, is they have this excursion to the chocolate factory that Bart misses out on. The excursion leaves the school at 1 p.m. Yeah. That is a weird time for an excursion to start. Especially when they're going to a chocolate factory. 1 p.m. is lunchtime. Have they had lunch yet?
Maybe that's why all the kids are so ratty. Because by the time when we see them in the chocolate factory, they're swimming in the vats, they're bashing up the mascot. Maybe they're ratty because they haven't had lunch yet, and then they just get some chocolate samples, so they've got an empty stomach full of sugar.
And Lisa, as she's getting on the bus, says, I'm going to eat 8 pieces of chocolate.
Wonderfully specific.
Yeah, which prompted me to write on my page, that was 8 pieces ago!
Why do I enjoy that callback so much? Oh, it's my favourite thing.
But, of course, has to lick envelopes instead, which is one of my favourite activities.
Yep.
The only thing is, Skinner buys the envelopes with the really low-quality glue, and Bart unfortunately dies.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Are him and Skinner still going to get married?
Well, the thing is, Skinner had a pact with Chalmers. So Chalmers still has to get married. We had a pact. It's meant Skinner!
It's meant to be the summer of Bart. Oh.
So I kind of peaked the...
You peaked it really hard. So But after licking all the envelopes for ages, including a wonderful close-up shot of Bart's blistered, swollen tongue
Yeah.
dragging itself scratchingly across the envelope, which
Always love that shot.
is a great shot. He then goes to skate home, gets caught in the rain, falls down into the stairwell of the legitimate businessman's social club.
Yeah.
And then another cracking first ad break, because he goes, "Ugh, what next?" And then 6 guns appear pointed at him, and then it's an ad break.
So I did quickly count the guns. It was 8 or 9.
8 or
Only on
9.
the screen for a moment, which means that some of the guys must have been pointing 2 guns at him, I think.
2 guns. Are there any characters in there called, like, 2 Guns Bill or something?
2 Guns Larry, maybe?
2 Guns Larry.
Yeah.
I like that.
I liked it because it's reminiscent of the movie poster for the hit film John Wick Chapter 2, which came out this year, so yeah, I'd like to think that they watched this episode of popular animated sitcom The Simpsons and said, oh yeah,
We'll just borrow some of that
we'll
visual imagery.
We'll just do that, and then we'll make a very, very good film.
John Wick.
Yeah. Have you seen John Wick?
Is it about Arthur John Wick?
Yeah, Arthur John Wick the accountant.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Have I made that joke on the podcast?
Uh,
About how I like to imagine movies
You've-
are just about, like, the name of the movie is just the surname of whoever the person the movie is about.
you've done that, and we had
John Boyhood.
Boyhood,
Renegade Assassin.
Boyhood was there. Die Hard was there.
Yeah.
Because when Bart was saying, "Oh, Wall Street's getting arrested," and "Oh no, Jaws is,"
Yeah.
we did that. I don't
Sometimes the
know.
lines blur for me between things we say on the podcast and just, like, the fact that we're friends.
I don't know if Arthur John Wick was one of them, but when you mentioned John Wick, I was like, "Oh, I know you like to do that surname thing."
Yeah.
And Arthur was the name that came to me naturally.
I feel like usually I do a Kyle John Wick.
Kyle,
Kyle John Wick.
Coral,
Exactly, Coral.
Kyle. All right.
It doesn't matter.
Have you ever had a Manhattan?
I believe I have, yes.
I haven't had a Manhattan, but the thing I find interesting about Manhattans, because I looked up the recipe,
Yeah.
2 parts whiskey, 1 part sweet vermouth, a dash or 2 of bitters, bracket such as Angostura, and I was like, is there literally any other brand of bitters? There probably is. Don't write in. Twist
Or
of,
do write in. We would love to hear from you.
yeah, sure.
Cards in the key of Springfield at gmail.com.
Twist of orange peel and a cherry. So that's pretty much just straight spirits. Legs, the guy who Bart makes the Manhattan for, sculls the whole thing and says, pretty good.
Yeah, you
Or
don't,
Supreme.
you don't skull a Manhattan.
You don't skull a Manhattan.
But this speaks to the pacing of this episode, which moves at a fucking blistering rate.
As blistered as Bart's little tongue.
Absolutely. This is a very, that tongue is like the precursor for what comes after. This is a very
The
fast-moving
tongue
episode.
is a foreshadowing of our faces by the time the episode is done, because our faces are blistered by how fast this episode moves.
There's a very specific scene that I noted that I felt like the restraint of this scene was beyond what you would see in The Simpsons after about season 11, I want to say.
Sure.
There's a scene where Bart arrives at the bar, skipping ahead a bit, but it's, relevant here. He arrives at the bar, he's a little angry, so he pulls out the bottle of milk, and he pours himself a shot of milk, and he does the shot.
Yeah.
Cut to the next scene. I feel like only having him do one shot instead of immediately pouring another one and doing that again is...
Yeah.
It's just indicative of how propulsive this episode is. It just moves.
Absolutely.
With a fucking...
Because I think
This is a really good episode.
in a modern Simpsons episode,
What if Simpsons Modern, yes.
it would probably be 5 shots,
Yeah.
and then
He would get drunk.
he'd fall over. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he'd, stumble around and say, I'm drunk now. What are you looking at? I'm Bart. And then everyone would clear their checks and move on.
Sure.
But this episode, real good.
Actually, no, sorry. I'll tell you exactly what the modern joke would be. He would go to pour himself a 4th shot, and then one of the people would say, "Don't you think you've had enough?" And then Bart will be slurring, saying, "I'll tell you when I've had enough," and then smash the milk carton on the bench.
Yep. And it would go for a minute and a half. There would be maybe one joke that was recognizable as a joke in there. Mm-hmm. And the episode would still only be 14 minutes long. They would need to extend the couch gag out
can't-
to a solid 6 minutes.
Can't wait for us to get to the modern
I
episodes.
think we're going to have fun. Or will, explode. First appearance of Fat Tony in this episode.
Fat Tony.
Joe Montagna. He's fucking great. He rules.
Yes, he is
so good in this.
Yes.
Everything he does is wonderful. Every little thing he does is magic. Every little thing, well, it doesn't turn me on, but it's good.
The realization coming across your face then. Sure.
Now, one thing this episode made me think, and I think this often whenever I'm watching anything, because every single thing somehow finds a way to reference it. Been a really long time since I've seen the movie Goodfellas.
Oh.
Have you seen the movie Goodfellas?
No.
Have you seen movies?
No.
No?
Which one's Goodfellas?
It's the Scorsese one about some good fellas.
Oh. Welcome to the Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order?
Yeah, welcome to Goodfellas, home of Goodfellas.
Can I take your order?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be Goodfellas. It's that one. And then it's got, what's his face wandering around, he sees the helicopter, and he just wanted to be a good fella, you know? I think Joe Pesci's in it.
Joe Pesci?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Although Joe Pesci's also in Casino, so I'm worried that I'm conflating those two movies.
Right.
Because
welcome
they're
to
both...
Casino, home of the casino. Can I take your order? Why am I referencing Good Burger?
Because I think Casino's the one where Joe Pesci's like, you think I'm funny? How do you think I'm funny? How am I funny? What do you mean funny? And he beats the shit out of a guy. Joe Pesci's really good. It's a shame he's not in this episode.
Good thing no one thinks I'm funny. I don't have to hit them.
Yeah, you never have to say, what do you mean funny?
Yeah.
How do you think I'm funny? I don't even know if that's a Joe Pesci impression or not.
I'm sure we'll hear about it.
A Joe impression.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I'll leave it in, but I don't know that it's good.
Fair enough.
You notice there's a running thing in the early seasons of The Simpsons of Bart introducing adults to Itchy and Scratchy and then really enjoying Itchy and Scratchy?
That's interesting.
It's weird because it's kind of like, because The Simpsons is a cartoon aimed at adults.
Yeah.
And there's this ongoing thing of like the 10-year-old on the show introducing adults to a cartoon that they grow in love with.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because there's something for the kids to enjoy. I mean, in Itchy and Scratchy, I don't necessarily think there's actually anything for adults to enjoy. But
and the episode just always happens to somehow relate to the situation they're in.
It's pretty prescient.
Yes. It's almost as if
Joe Pesci.
It's almost as if Itchy and Scratchy is actually an adaptation of The Simpsons from some sort of alternate dimension.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So this week when Bart joins the mob, Itchy and Scratchy are also members of the mob.
Could it be in a crossed kind of timeline?
Blended
timeline?
Do you mean like a sort of like if two omelets like melded together somehow in the pan?
Well, typically I tend to think of one omelette being flipped, but we could introduce a second omelette if you want.
I mean, it seems like an inefficient way of cooking, but it's,
yeah, cooking two omelettes in two separate pans and tossing them together as one.
Yeah, this is what happens when you do that. The two universes, the omelette universes, merge together. I think you'd have to be a bit of like a madman to try that kind of thing. Like a really colossal, like, maniac,
Whoa.
I think.
That's an interesting word that you used.
Which one? Maniac?
Maniac. Both went... We bloody Three Stooges got stuck in the door for that anti-joke.
Move it, Shoulderhead. I got a heap of notes on this one that I still need to go through. How are you going?
I've got nothing.
Okay, because I'm getting increasingly aware of time. Don't want to be a 4-hour episode. But few things I want to point out here. Wiggum used to actually be a cop in this show.
Yeah, and he used to do coppery.
Yeah, I mean, he's terrible, but he's actually trying to do police work in this one.
Try.
Bit of a minor note. Then there's the scene where Bart has all the cigarettes in his room.
Yes.
And he has the cigarette in his mouth because Homer tells him to smoke all of them. And then the delivery guy comes in and says, "Hey, Pally, you look really clever and smart with that cigarette."
Yep.
Here's the thing. I think I'd look really cool with a cigarette hanging out my mouth. I think I could pull it off. I think it would... I think aesthetically...
Let me think about it. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
I think the aesthetics of smoking would suit me very well.
Interesting, because I don't think they'd suit me.
I don't think they would, no. I don't think it's quite... yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Is it because you're a writer?
That could be part of it.
Yeah. Like the The Jack Kerouac of freelance video games.
Don't compare me to Jack Kerouac. That guy's a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry.
It's probably a bit unfair of me, actually. I just don't like On the Road.
Fair enough.
I don't really know what he's like as a person. Yeah, I don't smoke.
Jack Kerouac, if you're listening, I just want to say that the opinions of James do not necessarily reflect the opinions of me. I also want to say that I do not know anything about you, and I was reaching well above my knowledge base when I referenced your name. Thanks.
And all I want to say is, On the Road, again, never going to read On the Road again.
I can wait to read On the Road again.
As we have established, I have had a puff of a cigar before, but I've never smoked a cigarette, never going to smoke a cigarette.
No.
I feel like maybe I should just carry a pack of cigarettes around with me.
What about those little lollies? Those little
fads, they call
fads.
them? Yeah.
Used to be called something a lot worse.
Yeah.
The fads that, yeah.
Isn't it crazy, by the way, what those things used to be called?
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely don't feel comfortable saying the word.
I'm not going to say it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, no, crazy,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yeah, completely. But maybe you should just carry those around. I don't know I don't know if you're a fan of, I think they're musk. Are they musk flavored?
Yeah.
Are they little musk
Not really
sticks?
into that.
What are musk sticks?
Those little sticks of musk.
Yeah, fair
You
enough.
get the skunk, you squeeze the musk out.
Oh, I didn't realise it was
Such a visceral process.
No wonder why Pepe Le Pew is always following me around.
Pepe Le Pew is a piece of shit. Let's not invoke that little fucking vomit.
Oh no, it's, yeah. I think it's well documented by now that the Pepe Le Pew cartoons are just sexual assault.
I think we may have talked about Pepe Le Pew on this podcast.
I think we have. I think we have talked about Pepe Le Pew.
Pepe Le Pew, more like Pepe Le Pew, if you ask me.
I didn't know you were writing for Mad Magazine.
That actually got turned down by Cracked, that piece.
Oh, right.
But yeah, very into the aesthetics of cigarettes, I suppose was the point there. Now, Skinner.
Skinder.
Yeah, Skinner. You know, that service that connects you with principles.
Very, very good.
Yeah, so in this episode, Bart gets angry at Skinner, and the mafia goes around to harangue him.
Sure.
And then, you know, it turns out it was quite a pleasant meeting, and they leave. And then Skinner gets trapped under a pile of newspapers. Now, this seems ridiculous for a few reasons. One, Skinner lives with his mum. I'm pretty sure that's established.
Yeah, in the sugar... no, we watched that with Elliot.
Yeah.
We haven't got to that episode yet. Never mind.
I feel like it's at least heavily implied. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. But we know he lives with his mum.
Oh, also... Sorry, just mentioned in the episode before...
Yep.
Flanders has a sister that we never see or hear from again.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yeah, it's mysterious.
It's mysterious.
And they just drop her entirely. But Skinner gets trapped under a pile of newspapers, and the situation's very silly. It's very ridiculous. But I think about it often.
Sure.
Because I live alone.
Yes.
And I work most days from home. And there aren't many people who contact me, like, daily. And frankly, a lot of the people who do, like, if I don't respond to the message, they wouldn't think that much of it because I sometimes just don't respond to things on time.
Sure.
So I often think living alone, like, if something happened to me, it could be a while before anyone noticed.
Yeah, and you do... I mean, your desk... And I've repeatedly said that maybe you should change this. But your desk is at the foot of a very large pile of old newspapers.
Yeah, and the thing is, I just keep putting more newspapers on there.
Yeah.
And people say to me, like, start a second pile.
Start a second
pile.
pile.
And I say, look, this has been the pile that I have managed for most of my adult life now. I refuse. I'm just going to keep stacking this pile.
But it's a good thing that next to your desk is a bin that has, as we've established, an empty cigar tube.
Yes.
And
from that one time.
And probably some baking soda and some lemon. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly how the process of video game reviewing works, but I assume that
There's more lemon involved than you might expect.
Yeah, and the baking soda?
You know, when I have to conduct an experiment, yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so is baking soda art?
You know, it's not really my place to say whether baking soda is or isn't art.
Okay, sure.
And frankly, I resent the question, and I wish you hadn't asked it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That took a turn. I've had similar thoughts about who's going to know if I'm trapped under.
Yeah.
Well, these days I wouldn't be trapped under a pile of newspapers. I'd be trapped under like a pile of like tablets with newspapers on them, or
Yeah,
like
that pile of tablets you've been... Where are you getting all these tablets from, by the way?
steal them.
Okay.
Or it wouldn't surprise me if one day, if a very localized hurricane came through my house, they would find my body under a tangled mass of all the electrical cords that I have in this house. And it would be great, because as they were untangling the cords for evidentiary purposes, there would be those conversations where someone pulls out a cord and with an end that no one recognizes, and they're like, does anyone know what this one's for? I don't know, it kind of looks like an S-Video plug. S-Video, I don't remember S-Video. Oh no, it was the one that you used to use before, like on fancy VCRs. Oh, okay.
Oh my, there's a corpse under this pile.
Oh shit.
S-Video cables.
Cables.
That's unfortunate. It's a newspaper headline in this episode that says, sentencing today for Dinky Don.
Dinky Don.
Who is Dinky Don?
Bart, because he's the Don of the Mafia, but he's a little tiny one.
Okay.
Little tiny Dinky Don.
He's a little... Okay. What about Donkey Kong?
Little tiny Dinky Donkey Kong.
Yeah, is Donkey Kong involved in this in any way?
You
ever played Donkey Kong?
Not to the best.
Like the original, the arcade version?
Oh no. Oh yes, the one with Jumpman.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's on the mini NES.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a good game.
Yeah, it's fine.
I can say that as a game journalist. My opinion holds real weight and value.
I was playing Donkey Kong Country on the mini SNES on Sunday.
Oh, good for you.
While recovering from a horrible hangover.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It's a good game.
Yeah, it was alright.
It's weird playing those old games because my muscle memory kicks in and starts playing the game for me, but my skill level is not what it used to be.
Yes.
So my muscle memory assumes I'm doing better than I am.
Yes.
Yeah. The line, I don't have an appointment with any large men, is a nice line.
Good line, very good line.
Yeah, I feel like we've basically covered this episode. It's fucking good.
Yeah,
it's real fucking good.
Really, really good. I mean, I don't know if we're going to do a top 5 of season 3. I suspect we might. This one might be in my top 5.
I think it's a strong possibility. And also, we barely talked about the mob, but they're fucking funny in this episode.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Fat Tony's great. Louis has a really funny voice.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm into it. It's a good episode.
This is, The Simpsons is good, as it turns out. Lisa goes to Washington, was, a misstep.
Yes.
But now television's good, and life is good again. And
is.
worth living, I suppose.
It is.
I mean,
and
you know.
Thank you for tuning in this week. Zip Pods.
In
The key of Springfield.
What's a Springfield?
I feel like that one was dragged out a little too long.
As always, we're on Facebook, Pods in the Key of Springfield. We're on Twitter, Key Springfield. We're on Instagram, Pods in the Key of Springfield. We have an email address. I mentioned it earlier. Try to keep up. Yeah. If you see us on the street, by all means, say "hey, hey" in the voice of that guy from that earlier episode.
Yeah, say one of our catchphrases to us.
If you can remember what any of them are.
I don't know if we have any identifiable catchphrases.
I don't know if anything's really taken off as like a true banger.
No.
I'm using the word banger a lot tonight. Not on this podcast, just in general.
Yeah, you do.
It's a good word.
Yeah. Interesting. Although, to be fair, we did have sausages and eat them with a hammer, so I can see why the word banger came up a few times.
Yeah. And we were listening to Bangarang at the time.
Sorry. I thought of the Bangles at Bananarama, and then I was like, nope, it's not either of those. Because my references are modern.
Alright, well, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure what the episode will be next week. I think maybe I penciled in and eat my shorts for next week. Maybe not. We'll see.
Who knows?
Yeah. It'll be a fantastic surprise for all involved.
It'll be grand.
Alright, woozle wazzle.
That
was not from this week's episode.
Well, hang on. Okay, let's go again.
Woozle wazzle?
I don't have an appointment with any large men.
There we go.
I
Bye.
held it.
In Springfield.
I don't know if we got enough banter at the start for the sting.
Yeah, I don't think we've got Sting banter.
Sting is in this season, I think.
Oh, when little Timmy O'Toole gets trapped in a well.
Yeah. There's a hole in my heart, as deep as that well for that poor little boy who's trapped halfway to hell.
He's a good digger.
You don't remember the next line?
No.
I can't get him out, so we'll do the next best thing. We'll go on TV and sing, sing, sing.
That was a particularly good Michael Caine.
We'll go on TV
and
sing,
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 sing. Not a lot of people will know that.
No, you're only supposed to record a bloody number one.
What are we doing? Why do we keep doing Michael Caine?
I don't know why we keep doing Michael Caine.
It is the most hackneyed bitch.
It is the worst.
And people, I mean, nobody's told us they're sick of it yet, but they fucking are.
Yeah.
Definitely sick of.
Yeah.
Alright, so I imagine this will be the stick. Should we retire Michael Caine?
I don't know if I'm ready to commit to that,
Okay,
James.
bring him in here. I'm going to have a chat with him. Bring him in.
What you want to get me in for? What you talking to me about?
Michael Caine, thank you for coming in. I want to do a performance evaluation with you.
A performance evaluation?
The problem is that you just don't sound that much like Michael Caine, sir.
What do you mean? What do you mean I don't sound like me? I am me. Who else could I be?
I'm not convinced.
How dare. It's getting even worse. Don't make me retire Michael Caine.
Okay, Michael Caine can stay on.
But I'll try to get him less and less.
Not a lot of people know that.
Not a lot of people know that.